Hey everybody. Today I wanted to take a few minutes and sum up my thoughts on the first early access week of Kings and Heroes, the new first-person fantasy co-op friendly MMO, which made its debut on Steam Early Access this week. For those of you who are regular visitors, you may have seen the two live and uncut streams that I did with Blue Orthodox earlier this week. There'll be links to those in the description box in case you're interested in seeing that raw, unedited gameplay. What I'm going to do for this particular video is just try to summarize my initial impressions on the game based on what I've seen of it thus far. The footage you're seeing here is actually taken from my most recent session in the game, which was just after patch number 4 was applied late on Friday night here in the US. So, where to begin with this game? In a lot of ways, Kings and Heroes is the game that I've been waiting for quite some time, in the sense that it takes a lot of established game design principles and puts a fun new twist on them in the grand tradition of some of my all-time favorite games such as World of Warcraft and DayZ. I feel like this is the sort of game that only comes along once in a great while, and as a result, it's definitely piqued my interest and got me pretty excited about the future of what this game has to offer. However, because this is in fact an early access product at the moment, I do have to temper that excitement with the understanding that this is by no means a finished, perfect, or complete game. So what is it about Kings and Heroes that in my mind makes it such a special game? First and foremost, I firmly believe that this is the first RPG set in a first-person perspective to have a truly engaging and interesting combat system. To be sure, I've played many RPGs set in first person in the past, but there's something about the way it feels to play this game, which I think can be attributed in large part to the usage of Unreal Engine, that just feels more compelling, more visceral, more engaging, and more straight up fun than any other RPG set in this perspective that I've played in the past. And yes, I am including the Elder Scrolls series in that comparison. Even in its current state, even with the bugs and issues that this game clearly has, there's still enough enjoyment, pleasure, and satisfying gameplay for me to consider recommending it strictly on the strength of how satisfying the moment-to-moment gameplay in these dungeon environments is. Now, again, this is not a finished game. This is not a bug-free game. And if you're the sort of person who needs the game that you're playing to be polished and complete, now is not the time for you to play this game. However, if you are a fan of the early access concept, if you enjoy seeing games as works in progress and seeing how they develop and evolve over time, and if you enjoy participating in the development process of a game by providing feedback to the development team, this is by all means a game that you should get on board with as soon as possible, if what you're seeing here seems at all appealing. So what is actually in the game as of the recording of this video? Basically, you have a fairly large open world area, which is fixed in terms of its design and layout, that is largely unpopulated at the moment. The geometry is all there. You as a character have the means to go out and explore and view the setting of the world, but at the moment there is nothing out there in the world for you to interact with outside of the main hub town called Everdell, where you first spawn into the game. Regarding the town itself, it is partially implemented in the sense that there are vendors and other NPCs that you can interact with to do things like selling items, breaking down items for crafting components, learning crafting skills, and purchasing recipes, and upgrading the skills of your class at your respective class trainer. All of those pieces are in place, and most importantly, there is a tavern located in the central area of the town that allows you to kick off dungeon runs in randomly generated environments that provide a wide variety of challenge and length, set in up to 5 different visual aesthetics. For example, the ice caves that you're seeing here become available to select at level 10. Because the dungeons are randomly generated, each time you run through one, even with the same difficulty and size settings, you're going to get a slightly different experience. There are a variety of bosses, creature types, and environmental layouts that help to keep things fresh, to the point where even though I've run each of the first 3 environment types now, I still feel compelled to go back and revisit them just to see all the different cool layout twists and creature population variations that are present in them. To be sure, there are some bugs in the various aspects of the dungeon, such as mobs getting stuck in various places or not spawning at times when it seems like they clearly should be. But for the most part, the dungeon gameplay is relatively solid at this point after patch 4. So, again, thinking about this game in terms of whether or not this is a good time to jump into it, if some good old-fashioned dungeon delving is up your alley, you may find a considerable amount of entertainment and replayability in the game even in its current state. If you're more of a fan of open-world exploration and robust RPG MMO feature sets, the game's current state isn't likely to appeal to you, even though the future plans and direction for it likely will. The bottom line for me is that Kings and Heroes in its current state is a very interesting, compelling, and desirable early access project. It's a game that speaks to me on various different levels and that I find inherently compelling based on what I've seen and experienced of it so far. And it's definitely a game that I plan to cover thoroughly throughout the rest of its development process here on the channel. As with any early access project, I would encourage anybody considering this game to think about what it is that they actually want from the experience before making a purchase. For me personally, I'm very pleased with what I've seen of the game so far, and I'm happy to be participating in the early access process, both in terms of getting to experience each new build of the game and the changes and refinements it brings to the overall product, and in terms of the opportunity to provide useful feedback to the development team regarding the bugs and potential missing features that I spot along the way. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more videos from me, and especially if you'd like to see more Kings and Heroes content in the future, be sure to hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.
That dude is wigging out.
Oh yeah. That's, yeah, he's having a bit of an issue.
Let
Let me put him out of his misery.
Oh damn.
We tried.
He did.
Oh,
He flamed him.
flame on then.